Awesome. Recording is happening. So I'm going to get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending our fourth episode. I don't know why I want to say episode, but webinar of the Making Miss Minnesota and Miss Minnesota's Outstanding Teen webinar series. We are just grateful that you're spending your Sunday night with us, or if you're watching this back, that you're taking the time to listen and learn more about the program, but also prepare yourself for either your next local stage, state stage, or even potentially listening to this in the future to prepare for the national competition. So we tonight are going to be talking about talent, and we'll touch base on that just a little bit more here. But first, we should probably do some intros. So my name is Ellie Mark. I'm the current Miss Minnesota. Also on the call, we have Bella.
Hi, I'm Bella Grill. I'm the Miss Minnesota's Outstanding Teen 2020 and 2021.
Yep, you're fancier than me. And then also silent today, we have Jody, who is our vice president of the Miss Minnesota board. And she is and recruiting director, I guess, in a way. I don't know. Recruiting director sounds more official. So that's the word I'm going to use for the phrase I'm going to use for you. But she's incognito tonight as Kathy Shellum. So who is our state executive director, a little different, but so thanks Jody for being here. Yep. And if she does pipe up, then you just will know who's talking. So at this point though, I am going to call on people and ask you to take a moment just to introduce yourself so we know who's all on the call. Just say your name, where you're currently living, or if you want to say where you're from, whatever makes the most sense for you. And then if you're a teen in the program, or if you are competing in the Miss division. So I will call people out here once I can get my screen to see everyone. There's so many people, I have to make it really big. Okay, great. So I already called on Bella. Bryn.
Yeah, I'm Bryn Olson, and I live in Thief River Falls, Minnesota. My title is Miss Capital City's Outstanding Teen, and yeah, I'm a teen.
Awesome, thank you. Trinity Johnson.
So I'm Trinity Johnson. I live in Albert Lee, and my title is Miss Freeburg County's Most Outstanding Teen, and I'm teen.
Yay, welcome. Mackenzie.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Steinmetz. I am Miss Northern Lakes Outstanding Teen. I'm from Bemidji, and I'm competing in teen.
Great. Jasmine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jasmine Kotak. I am from Faribault, in Lakeville. I'm in Faribault right now. I'm kind of all over the place. I'm currently Miss Hastings, and I am a miss. I'm kind of old.
It's okay. We were talking about that earlier, how I always say how old I am and make it sound like I act like I'm 90 or something, according to Bella. So all good. Yep. All right. Lydia.
Hello, my name is Lydia Jacozinski. I live in Mankato, and I am a miss.
Awesome. Thanks for being here and coming back. I know some are new, some are returning. So it's really cool to see so many new, and I don't want to say old faces. You're not old. All right. Kayla Betcher.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kayla. I currently live in Eagan, and my title is Miss Chain of Lakes, and I compete in the Miss.
Great. Thank you. Kenley.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kenley Barbaro, and I live in Edina, and I'm a teen.
Awesome. Thank you. Mackenzie Brady.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Brady. I currently live in Chanhassen, and I'm a teen.
Awesome. Welcome. I'll say Lindsay's iPhone, just because that's what your name is right now.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Lindsay Juarez Ramirez, and so locally for my I live in Glencoe, so I'm the current Miss Glencoe, but I will be competing in teen.
Awesome. So excited. The other Ellie on the call, Ellie's eye touch.
Hi, my name's Ellie Rowland. I live in Woodbury, Minnesota. I am Miss Chain of Lakes Outstanding Teen.
Awesome. Thank you. Called on Trinity. Anna Lynn.
Hey, my name is Annalyn Wallen. I am from Frazee, Minnesota. I am Miss Frazie's outstanding teen, and I'm a teen.
Awesome. Thank you. And Taylor.
I'm Taylor. I live in Mankato and I'm a miss.
Great. Thanks, Taylor. And Moira.
Hi, I'm Maura. Sorry, I'm having some connection issues tonight, so I'm going to leave my camera off. But I currently live in Minneapolis, and my title is Miss Capital City, and I'm a miss.
Yes. And I totally said your name wrong. I'm so sorry, Maura. I know how to say your name. I just totally read it very phonetically, which is not correct. So thanks, everyone. Did I miss anyone? Speak now. Okay, good. Like I said, there's so many of you on here tonight, which is great. So I had to make my little video box really big and I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anyone. So again, thank you for being here. So excited to see the new and returning faces, as well as a mix of teen and miss, some people with titles, some people who are still competing, and it's just super awesome. So moving right on into things, I want to talk about how this webinar series has gone so far and what it's going to look like moving forward. So it's going to happen on 6:30, always a Sunday night, about once a month. We have done 3 already, but this is the first one of 2022. So welcome. And before, we were really focusing on things leading up to the competition and not really anything about what happens during the onstage portion of the competition. We talked about building your resume and building your social impact initiative, as well as how to market and brand yourself and utilize social media to help yourself both as a candidate and a title holder. And then we talked about interview, which yes, is part of the competition, but it's not on stage yet, going through all of the tips and tricks that those of us who were able to attend could bring to the table, and answered some questions relating to what people wanted to know more about interview. But moving forward, the dates on here, of course, tonight, January 30th, we're going to be discussing talent. And moving forward with the onstage portion of the competition next month on the 13th, we're going to be talking about onstage speaking, whether that's your social impact pitch or an onstage question, which if you don't know what that is yet, that's okay. We'll get there. And then the following month in March 20th, we're going to be talking about evening wear, but also kind of talk about wardrobe in general, and just more of that onstage presence and how to carry yourself in those phases of competition. If you have not yet received the links to the recordings from the first 3 and you are interested, you can send Bella, myself, or Jody, which is Kathy tonight, a message on here and ask for those. You can send us an email, or you can do it on Instagram, whatever works best for you. And we will get those links over to you to make sure that you can kind of catch up. Or if there's one that you had to miss for some reason and you really want to refresh your memory, you can go back and look at those. But tonight it's all about talent. And I mentioned that, you know, if you don't know all the phases of competition yet, not to worry, we're going through each and every one of them. And so first, with the phases of competition for the Miss, we reviewed this last time, but I think it's kind of helpful for everyone to review again, even if you're a teen, to know what it looks like potentially in the future, or if you're a Miss and you have a teen title holder, getting to help them out too. So the phases of the competition go as so. For the Miss candidates, you have that 10-minute private interview with a panel of judges, or at Miss America, they called them panelists this year. But again, just multiple people who are going to be asking you those questions. And that is weighed 35%, so equal to talent. So the heavily weighted part of being scored in the competitions as a Miss. Then we have our onstage interview and social impact pitch, which we'll talk about next time. Talent, 35%, which we'll talk about tonight. And at nationals this year, it was actually 50% for the preliminary score. So it's a very important part. And then 15% is that red carpet and evening gown, which we'll talk about in March. Now that varies, like I said, a little bit for the teen candidates. So now my teens, this is where you can pay attention. You have that 8-minute private interview that's worth 25%. Lifestyle and wellness, formerly known as lifestyle and fitness, at 15%. Your talent is actually the most heavily weighed score when it comes to trying to achieve your title at the state and national level. So really important to make sure we're prepared in that sense. And that's why you're here tonight. So appreciate it. And then onstage question and evening gown is 15%, which I said we'll talk about the next 2 times. So we're going to dive right in, start talking about talent now, because it is a very important part of the Miss America organization. It's really what separates the Miss America organization from a lot of other pageants and competitions that are similar throughout, you know, the whole country, whether that be Miss USA or National American Miss, or if you've never heard of any of these before, don't worry about it. Just know that you do need to have a talent to compete at Miss America. But a lot of times that can be something that holds people back. Like, I don't have a talent, or I don't feel like I'm talented. And that's why this first part, picking your talent, can be something that's a little intimidating. So step one, you got to pick it. And of course, I have some listed on here, and feel free to put some more in the chat if you'd like to as well. But what is it that you're going to do? A lot of times we think, oh, it has to be singing or some type of dancing or something traditional like playing an instrument, right? Of course, those are all great options, and I encourage you to explore those or do those if that's what you're most confident in. But those aren't your only options. In fact, at Miss America this year, there was spoken word that was written by Miss New York, Sydney Park, and that won the Talent Preliminary Award. Think of Camille Schreier, who was Miss America 2020. She did a science experiment. Rachel Aaron, who was our first runner-up last year to Miss Minnesota, did a science-based spoken word demonstration, and just being able to find that different type of creativity. Another thing I've seen before is sign language. They picked a song and then they did this beautiful interpretation and did sign language to the piece. And it was actually incredibly moving because they found the right song, which we'll talk about next. Sports demonstration. I've never seen this done, and I've always wanted to see it done. Like, come on stage with a basketball and do something really cool. I don't know.
I'm going to do that.
Yes, please. I'm looking at you, Bella. That's exactly. Or your volleyball. If you have like cool skills with a soccer ball or anything like that, you can do, you can do that, not fire. I talked about spoken word. I talked a little bit about a science experiment. And the other thing with science experiments is, you know, after seeing Camille Schreier's, she did the elephant toothpaste, which is really big and it blows up. And yes, that's really exciting, but it can also be something smaller. It can be something that you talk through. And then just, I think, in my personal opinion, it is a talent to be able to make something that's super confusing to the average person and make it understandable to the common audience, whether that be talking about radiation and chemotherapy, but then breaking it down to, one of our candidates does like with a ping pong ball. And it just, I find that to be a talent too. And it has been successful in the organization. Of course, dance, and there's many different types of dances. You don't just have to do ballet on point, right? You can do jazz, musical theater, tap. There, you could even do hip hop. Hip hop did well at Miss America's Outstanding Teen this year and was super cool.
Someone also did gymnastics at Miss America's Outstanding Teen. She did a bunch of like tricks, flips. It's so cool.
Yeah, there were actually a lot of gymnasts and cheerleading. Yes. And all of them were very entertaining, which that's going to come up as we talk more, but any type of that movement as well. A safety demonstration, you know, when I say that, I think of the movie Miss Congeniality and her, you know, like body slamming the other FBI agent, but it doesn't need to be something like that, but it could be some type of demonstration of here's how you can protect yourself, especially if that's something that goes with your social impact initiative. Speed painting, visual arts. Something I saw that was really cool it wasn't local for Miss America, but it was another type of ambassador organization, and they had to have a talent. And what she did was she came on stage in a robe and she had a picture, and she explained this picture she drew of this dress and how she made this dress and how she was going to design it, how she picked the fabric, the whole story. And then she took the robe off and showed us the dress she had made. And so that type of visual art, I mean, that is a talent. I can't make an evening gown, so that's really cool. Bella, is there anything else that comes to mind when you're thinking of unique and different talents?
The only other thing that comes to my mind is like playing an instrument. Someone played the drums at Miss America, or they played like the violin or the fiddle. Did one of them do? Yes. Like an instrument like that. But otherwise, I think we covered it.
Yeah. And I've even seen like the ukulele and things like that done before. And so there is a wide variety of choices that you can choose from when it comes to doing a talent, and recognizing that you're not just picking your talent in terms of like what is best, but also what you can do in 90 seconds. That's something I don't have that written on the slides now that I'm thinking about it, but is very important. Your talent has to be 90 seconds or less. So making sure that you're keeping that in mind, I guess, when you're picking out a speech or you have a song or something like that. I mean, it can really change what you end up doing based on how much time you have. So you got your talent picked out. What's next? I'm going to kind of, to make this understandable, walk through what it was like for me picking out my talent, either for a local or state or even the national stage, to because I feel like when I give examples, that's when I do best at explaining things. So now you have to think about the logistics. You've picked your talent. For me, I actually had to choose between dance and singing, and it was the logistics of dance versus singing for me that helped me narrow it down when it came time to choose my talent for the state stage and then the national stage. What do I need to be able to perform, and how can I prepare? And do I have everything I need to be able to do the talent that I have picked? So first and foremost, the thing that comes to a lot of people's minds is music or a track. Do you even need music? Are you going to be doing, if you're singing, you probably need music, but you could do something a cappella. Same with dancing. You probably need music, but could do something a cappella. If you're doing some type of presentation or demonstration or speech, a lot of times people will have music behind them so they know how fast they need to go, if they need to speed up or slow down, or even just to set the tone. Your music really sets the mood for the presentation. Or if you don't have music, that also sets a mood. So being very strategic in if you are going to use music, and then also what music do you want to pick? When it comes to music for me, whether that be as a dancer, as a singer, I always wanted to pick a song that not a lot of people had heard of before. The reason I did it that way was because I didn't want people to compare me to something they've heard before or something they've seen before. However, sometimes you pick a good song, and that song makes people excited or ready to get involved or jump up and sing along. And that's the mood you want to set. And so I think of more popular songs that you might hear at a karaoke or party or something like that, just that excites everyone and gets them off their feet. And so, yes, feel free to put any questions in the chat. Sorry if you can see the annoying little blue dot every time I move my mouse. So thinking about the music you want to use, the mood you want to set, the way you want the judges and the audience to feel, and the energy you want to bring to the room, and getting it down to 90 seconds. The other aspect of if you do choose to use music is you have to have the rights to the music. That can seem really scary and intimidating at first, especially when you haven't done it before, but I promise you it's a lot easier than you may think. And when you go to the national stage, you have help to make sure you have the music ready for that national stage. The two things I have listed under music and track is ASCAP. You can Google them and Google BMI. And I always typed in like BMI music so that you would actually get BMI music and not body mass index. So those are two sites that help you find out if you can use your music publicly. Again, it sounds confusing, but the steps are simple. You'll type in one of those into your search engine. You're going to click on the website, and you have the opportunity to search for a song. You type in your song name, and if your song name is there, you're good to go. And beyond that, if you have a local director that can help you, and if you don't, then we have people as part of the state board and the state team who will be able to help you realize, do I have the rights to this music or not? I advise people to stay away from Disney songs. Disney songs are notoriously really difficult to get the rights for. However, it's not impossible. My state song that I sang for Miss Minnesota was from a Disney musical, and we did find the rights for it, and we did get it cleared. So know that that is a process you'll have to go through. If you don't know how to go through it right now, there are people who are going to help you, but it's just something to be aware of as you start to pick the music, if you need music to do your talent. So the next one. Oh, actually, Bella, I'm going to turn to you. Do you have anything else to add about music or the background track, or anything that you want to add about why you picked yours?
So when I first started competing, I did a hip hop dance as my talent, and it was like my solo. I was competing that year, kind of threw it together. I didn't love the dance, and you can kind of tell on stage I didn't love the dance. So if you're a dancer, because that's really only who I can speak to, pick something that you really, really like, because it'll show. And so then when I won my state title, I danced to the song Been Here All Along from Hannah Montana, which is a Disney track. I love the dance, and it's about the dad, Miley Cyrus's dad goes and serves overseas, and then he comes back, and so it's whole thing about serving overseas and military families. I loved it. I wanted to bring it to nationals. I found out you cannot get the rights for that song. So if it comes to getting the rights, just be open that you might have to change it. So then took me a while, but I chose the song Humble and Kind. And I had to find a cover version of it, which is fine because it's the same word, same everything. But I actually love that more because when I went to nationals, my thing that they announced about my talent, my intro for when I announced my talent, was them being like, oh, Bella's growing up with the lesson of always staying humble and kind. So I kind of got to like tie it into my social impact too a little bit. So that's what I love about my talent, is always, if you can tie it back in your social impact some way, that's always a benefit thing. But yeah, I wasn't happy about switching it, but I'm happy looking back at it now.
Yeah. Yes. And Angie will help you with that. Yes. So Mackenzie has a question in the chat. If your song is a cover from YouTube, sometimes you're still able to use it. Most of the time you still are. But
you are.
Yeah, but just go to your local director and let them help you navigate your way through that. So if you have a local director, someone who helped you get your title, great, lean on them and bring that to their attention. If you don't, then you can reach out to people at the state board who are going to help you through this process too. So
and
great
most
question
of the time,
there.
You only need the rights if your pageant is being broadcasted. So like when we went to nationals, we did a live stream where it was on television. So that's when we needed the rights. I don't know if you need rights for the teen pageant, maybe not. So don't quote me on that one. But if you can't for some reason, don't truly worry about it.
Yes, great. All right. So moving forward, the next aspect of things, and I know Bella, I'll have you talk about this when we get there, but you're good right now, is coaching or training. So when it comes to your talent, do you need a choreographer? Is it a dance? Do you need some type of coach? Well, it's an important question. Do you want someone to help you progress, or do you just want another set of eyes on it? For me, as someone who is a vocalist, I was sitting there going, okay, I've grown up dancing. I could be my own choreographer and have my sister look at it. Or if I want to sing, I'm probably going to need to enlist some outside help. I'm going to need to look for a coach or a trainer outside of who I have in front of me. So I was sitting there going, can I do this? And sometimes it can cost money, but fortunately for me, I was able to ask someone who I knew who was a vocal instructor. I said, hey, would you be willing to sponsor me? I'm a local title holder who's going to be competing at Miss Minnesota. I will post on social media saying that you're my talent sponsor, and I will try to help you in any way I can in return for me getting free voice lessons. And boom, she was like, yeah, I would absolutely love to do that. It would be my honor. So what type of sponsors can you utilize, or can you find a sponsor? Maybe there's a dance studio in town you've always wanted to work with, or a certain choreographer. The worst answer you're going to hear is, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. Okay, you move on. It's not the end of the world. It can feel really intimidating, but you have to do a lot of things as a state title holder that can be intimidating. So this is a good preparation for you. And we also do have some state level sponsors that I utilize then in preparing for Miss America. And so we have Twin Cities Musical Theater Training, and we have Hearts Performing Arts, both of which sponsored me, and would love to hear from local title holders and help them prepare for the state competition and even beyond if you become a state title holder. I know Bella has a choreography sponsor that also allowed her to use the studio space along those lines. So Bella, do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yes. So when I first started competing, I had just taken our main choreographer from my studio that I was attending, and she choreographed my dance. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. And then after Miss Minnesota, I found a choreographer who I truly loved their work. And this lady actually offered to sponsor me. So we got to use the studio, and I think we had like maybe 4 or 5 lessons together, and she critiqued it all. And it was amazing. And so if you can find someone to help you with your talent, especially if you're like a dancer or a singer, or if you can just find almost like a mentor for your talent is another good one. If you're like speaking, or maybe it's like a science professor who can maybe explain things better, but just trying to get another set of eyes on it is really, really helpful. And yeah, the same thing with my dance one. It was a sponsor, so it was free, and I got to use the studio, and it was super, super nice.
Thank you. Yes, that is a perfect segue for both of the things I was going to talk about next. I apologize. I like to say that my dog recently found his voice, and he just barks all the time now. So if you hear him in the background again, I apologize. And I hope your dogs aren't barking in return. So when it comes to, she said, like a mentor. So yes, it doesn't need to be a coach just for dancing or singing. I mean, it could be for the sport that you're in. It could be a speech coach if you're doing some type of monologue or something along those lines. It could be an acting coach, a lot of different things. Or it could be a walking coach too, if you really want to do something that's walking and talking and preparing like that. And we'll talk about that in a second. But the last part about that is whose input is going to help me. Now, sometimes, like Bella said, she had a choreographer, she used their choreography, but she didn't really love it. And that could come across in her performance. And for me, a good example is leading up to Miss Minnesota. I do like Broadway pieces, but I was working with individuals who had training in classical music. And so their input wasn't quite as helpful for me in terms of the music I was doing. And I had to adapt and adjust and find a new individual who could help me in preparing the way that I needed to for the music that I had chosen. So it's okay if, you take bits and pieces from people, but recognize that you don't just want to grab anyone you can, really be careful about who's giving you that input and who's helping you prepare, and make sure it's something that you're enjoying too. That's a really important aspect of all of this. Now, the next part is the costume. And this is important for many different reasons. Yes, talent weighs a lot, and part of your talent is really that whole package. We'll be talking about wardrobe in a different webinar, but I needed to bring it up now when it comes to talent, because you need to be thinking about things beyond just what looks good or what do you enjoy wearing. For instance, what will work best on stage? When I was picking out both my gown for state and my gown for Miss America, I wanted something that had a big train that took up a lot of space, but was easy to move in, because you have to be able to move during your talent, unless you're a piano player or something like that. But even a piano player, you want to make sure that you don't have big sleeves that are getting in the way, or even like hair and things like that are getting in the way. Can you move around as needed in certain shoes? This happened to me actually at Miss Minnesota. I had certain shoes that I was planning to wear for my talent because they looked really good with my talent dress. And I got on stage and I was wearing them, and I could not sing in them on the stage. And I'd practiced in them at home, but the way the stage, like there were little divots. I also noticed when I got nervous, I couldn't sing as well in those shoes. So I ended up wearing a lower heel, and I'm glad I had that backup pair anyways. And I was planning to bring them to Miss Minnesota and wear them for a different gown. But things like that you have to think about and consider when it comes to wearing and preparing a costume. This is another place you can look for sponsors. This is another place you can look for what girls have worn in the past and maybe borrow from other title holders. This is not something you need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on by any means. I know, Bella, you for your farewell, you're using a costume that you're actually using as your competitive solo costume. I had a ton of dance costumes that I no longer use that Bella has now that she's using for different performances. There are people who have evening gowns, if you've seen them in the past. A lot of that type of stuff too, you can either find sponsored or you can always borrow. Or my dress that I wore for Miss Minnesota on stage on talent, I got on Facebook Marketplace. So You can do it all. Bella, anything to add in terms of costuming?
I'm going to be completely honest. When I went to Miss America's Outstanding Teen, I kind of dropped the ball on the costume. I went there and I had the vision of like humble and kind, and I loved my dress that I picked, and it came late. Rhinestones were a whole issue. Like there was a whole issue with it. But when I got there, I felt very underdressed because it was a costume that like, it was cute, but it wasn't like, wow. And I feel like as a teen, especially if you're a dancer, depends on your dance, of course, and like what you're doing, but the more maybe rhinestoned and like pretty it is, the more appealing it is to non-dancers. So another big thing, I guess, with dancing is if you aren't a dance specialist or like a dance coach, you're solely going to base that talent off of how entertaining it is, how we'll get to that part. But do something that, yes, you can move in, because that's a huge, huge difference. Be prepared for different stages too, because like what Ellie talked about, like your shoes and the divots, you never know. So have backup shoes, or I dance barefoot, and sometimes at a few locals I've had to put on shoes because of like the floors or like my feet were weird. And yeah, so if you can do that on stage. And third, if you can borrow dance costumes that like maybe your studio has used, or you can go on the Facebook Marketplace and there's old studios that are now selling costumes. Highly, highly, highly recommend those.
Yes, that's such a great point. And to speak about the glitziness of things, that doesn't necessarily mean money. Because I know for me, when I was a dancer, when I thought rhinestones meant expensive, and that can, but it's not even necessarily that. It goes back to that, what's going to work best on stage. You are a small person on a big stage. How are you going to make sure the focus is on you? Is it going to be the big cape? Is it going to be the rhinestones or the sequins or the color? Is it going to be solely your movement? Are you going to do a simple costume and have it only focused on what you want the focus to be on, whatever that may be? What is it going to be that emphasizes your talent and brings the whole package together? Now, when I was thinking about dancing versus singing, another aspect that I wanted to talk about with coaching and training, also dancing in terms of a costume and stuff, but was, do you have the space that you need to practice this in? I meant to mention this earlier, so I'm sorry that I'm kind of backtracking, but we were talking about practicing in your costumes, whatever that may be. One thing for me that I realized, COVID had also hit right when I was starting to prepare for Miss Minnesota from my local. And I realized I didn't have access to a dance studio anymore because of that. And also I had moved to Minneapolis from my hometown where I had access to a studio. And I thought, well, I can still do virtual voice lessons, but I can't really do my dance in my 5-foot by 5-foot living room. So that's part of coaching and training. Also going to take it back one more, because I saw there was a question in the chat about the vocal piece. Did I pick the first, when it comes to picking the 90 seconds, and even really with any music track, did I do the first 90 seconds of the song, or did you kind of pick certain parts and almost Frankenstein it? I love that phrase. I'm going to steal that, Frankensteining a piece. I Frankensteined it. I did a little bit from the beginning and then a little bit jumped to the end. For my Miss America piece, I did basically the last 90 seconds of the song, but I added a little bit to it with the help of someone who was arranging my track. So when it comes to the music, you don't have to just do the first 90 seconds. You can mix it up. You can edit it. I learned how to edit all of my own music by watching YouTube videos and downloading free software. And so it is possible. If you need help, you can always enlist help. But you can also learn it on your own. It's something that I've learned over time. Yes. And it's very important that when you are picking a song, especially if you're singing or if you're doing certain movements to certain parts, I guess, pick the parts of the song that best flatter you. If there's, I know for me, I've purposely cut out parts of songs where I'm like, can't hit that note. And I jump to the end, and that's okay. No one's going to know. So keeping that in mind, and that kind of all encapsulate logistics. I'm sure that there are other logistics that go into it, but I felt like these were really important ones when you decide your talent, or if you're trying to decide what talent you're going to do, thinking about these different things as you prepare to perform them on stage. All right. Performance. Bella, I stole this picture from your Instagram without telling you, so I apologize.
That's okay. I like that picture.
Okay, good. I was like, well, she posted it. She must like it.
Accurate.
So now you picked what talent you're going to do. You figured out that you have the things that you need, or you're going to be able to find the things that you need in order to prepare it for this last part, which is performance. And we've hinted at this, but the biggest thing that happens when a judge, or even really an audience member, is looking at a talent is it entertaining? Is it something that I want to watch again? Now, notice I'm not saying, is she the most talented? Is she the best singer I've ever heard? Is it something I would like to watch again? So when you're scored on a, I can't speak, scored on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 means, oh my goodness, I could watch that individual do it all day long and never get sick of it. 1 is, I've seen it before, don't care to see it again. I can tell you right now, rarely are ones handed out. Not that I've seen scores, but from what I've been told over the years. So don't worry about getting ones. But realize you want to get, you want to get those 10s. You want to be the person that they would sit and pay money to listen to you or watch you or join you in whatever it is that you're doing. It does not necessarily mean that you have to be ready to walk off stage and then go compete for the voice, or so you think you can dance, or go to Harvard and get your medical degree. It's about, if your performance makes me want to come back and it makes me feel whatever emotion it is you're wanting me to feel. If you want me to listen to your monologue and cry, that's entertaining to me. If you can get me to cry, if you want me to be sitting and watching you do a safety demonstration and feel really excited about performing that safety tip, then if you can do that, that's the entertainment value to me. So that's truly the most important part when it comes to putting your talent together. Now, that also is something that you can't just necessarily wing it on stage. It's something you have to practice. Now, this can mean for dancers, you have to go in a studio in front of a mirror. They're used to that. Singers, I have to go in front of a mirror in a studio and practice in a big space, walking around my actions, how I'm going to engage members of the audience. If you're doing some type of demonstration, if you're using some type of prop, a chair, a sign, whatever it may be, how are you using it to make it entertaining and add to your performance? Do you have certain lyrics in your song that you want to look at the judge? Are there certain moments in the speech that you need to emphasize, that you need to have your power pose? Don't go out there and wing it. Make sure you're going into it knowing exactly what your performance plan is. Bella, anything to add to that?
Not really. The biggest thing that both Ellie and I and our moms always talk about with talent is, do you want to watch that again? So if maybe like you've had a few locals, it maybe hasn't gone great, or you could honestly just ask someone, like, watch my talent, would you want to watch that again? And if they're like, yes, I want to watch it again, then you're kind of starting to get that performance, the entertainment aspect that we're talking about. But if someone's like, that was good, I don't even want to watch it again, then maybe you can go back and try and find a mentor, or try and find a coach to help you with those aspects, because entertainment is not something that comes easy, especially like as a dancer. It might have to do with like your movements, your facial expressions, just simple things that can help elevate your entire performance. But I don't know, I think you said it all. I think we're good.
Awesome. Cool. So with that, I have some other things that I want to add, but one thing that Bella said earlier, and she didn't even, well, yeah, I guess you did see the slides before we came out here, never mind. But still, if you didn't plan it, good job anyways, Bella. The most important thing when it comes to talent is doing something that's authentic to you. Bella mentioned that she did hip hop as her first talent, and you could tell it wasn't her thing. And that comes across in your performance, that when you feel uncomfortable as a performer, the audience is going to feel uncomfortable then too. Whatever emotion you have on stage, that's going to be put out into the audience as well. There's one candidate who I'm close with who, I just kicked my computer stand, I'm sorry, who I'm close with, who used to sing because she felt like that's what people do when they compete in this type of stuff. They sing, but she wasn't a singer. In fact, she didn't like singing at all. So she did it. She won a title with it, but she never really did anything else with it. She switched her talent to something with speaking and something that had to do with her social impact initiative specifically. And she did really well. It completely changed her entire way she competed and made her a lot more successful in the long term. And she's not the only one like that, but there are a lot of stories where when you finally decide to just do what feels best to you, that's when you succeed and do well. I think that also has to do, when I reflect on my journey with my talent, I will say it's always been the part that's freaked me out the most. Grew up a competitive dancer, but when I started competing, I was 22 years old and I hadn't danced in a year. I was on my college dance team, but took time off. And then I started dancing again, and I was uncomfortable, but I felt like it was what I should do because I grew up competitive dancing, until one day I hurt my knee, quite frankly, is what happened. And I had my local for Miss St. Croix Valley, which is the title I won to become Miss Minnesota, the next week. And I changed my talent to singing. I sang, and someone said to me, "You need to do that at state." And I thought, okay, if it worked here, it's going to work there, because I was so much more comfortable singing than I was dancing anymore. Now that my body was older, now that I was injured and I was worried about all that type of stuff. So keeping all of that in mind, doing what's authentic to you is the most important thing. Now, another aspect of that is not just what type of talent you do, but when it comes to deciding, like I was talking about before, that tone or that mood that you want to set. I was once told that lyrical dances are not a good fit, or any type of thing that makes you sad or anything that's angry, not a good fit, because you want to be entertaining. But I beg to differ. As long as if you are standing in front of me and you're like, I need to do the happiest jazz dance in the world, or I need to pick something that's super uplifting and exciting, but you thrive with a lyrical dance or something super emotional, or maybe it's a ballad instead of a musical theater song, then go for it. Do what feels authentic to you, because if you feel comfortable, then that's what's going to succeed. One more thing to add to this too, in terms of picking something that feels comfortable to you, is also, if you feel, how do I phrase this? Something that makes me really sad is when I go to different local competitions, like I have been this year, and I see some people who compete multiple times. Actually, a lot of people do it, have to compete several times before they get a title. And every single time they're changing their talent, or they are changing their costume with their talent, or they're changing little things. I am seeing that most of the time they're doing it not because they want to, but because that person thinks that the thing they changed it to is going to be what the judges want, is going to be what other people want. But over time, they're losing themselves. And when you change things like that so much, you're never progressing forward. You're just doing something new. So I encourage you, if you have a piece that you love, even if it didn't allow you to win the first time you did it, keep going with it. A different set of judges in a different day is going to give you a different outcome 99.9% of the time. So do what feels authentic to you. Even if at first it's not successful, over time, you'll get better at it and you'll become more successful. So Bella, I know you already talked about it, but is there anything you want to add in terms of this?
The one thing I do want to add is, whether you are still competing or you have a local title or you're even the state title, you're going to get a lot of opinions about your talent and a lot of input about your talent. Whether it's your director saying you need to change your hair, this move, and add more tricks, or just something like this, where someone else is trying to change your talent, but if you feel uncomfortable, again, it's going to come out on stage that you are just uncomfortable with your talent. So the biggest piece of advice that both of us can give you is just, if you truly love like one part of it or something, don't let anyone change that, whether it's your mom, your sister, your director, anyone, whoever it might be. If you feel that your dance will be best in this costume, or that your science experiment is best like this, just stick with it. In the end, it's all about you, and people are gonna judge you at pageants, not what your director thinks or not what your family thinks. So just truly try and stick to like your roots when it comes to this kind of stuff, only because you will get a lot of opinions.
Yes. I'm not saying go to your director and burn their house down.
Oh yeah, no.
We're not saying that. And I'm
No.
laughing because over the years, I can agree totally. I mean, in the past month, I've heard a lot of different opinions, and that goes back to whose opinion is going to help you, and making sure that if there are certain things that are really important to you, that you're clinging on to them. Like if someone tells you need to change your talent and that to something that isn't authentic to you, and it's not for reasons that you can understand or you can see, always be open to listening. But you can also recognize that the most important thing is that you are entertaining. To be entertaining means you have to be in the moment. To be in the moment means you have to be prepared and comfortable. The only way you'll be prepared and comfortable is if you stick to the things that you know. That's my spectrum and my rant and my soapbox. So I apologize for hopping it over.
I'm going to answer Lydia's question in the chat. Also, please put as many questions as you want. We're going to have a question time coming up soon. So do not hesitate to ask questions. For me, when it came to changing my song, when I competed at between going from a local to a state, I kept the same song. Well, I went at large when I won state, but like when I competed at a local before and I had lost, that was really bad. When I competed with my talent at a local, I don't know where I'm going with this. It's been a long day, okay. I ended up just like ramping it up a little bit. So I added more tricks. I took out kind of fluff parts of my dance, I guess, but I kept the same song. But like when I went to nationals, it was a night and day difference between my talents. But granted, I had different choreographer, different song, all those things. So I would say it's a personal opinion, but I would definitely reflect on your current talent. If you love it, again, you keep it, you go for it. But if you kind of want to pretend like you are going on the Miss America stage, like, would you bring that talent to Miss America? Would you bring that talent to Miss America's Outstanding Teen? If you're like, probably not, then I would say maybe just try and ramp it up, or maybe switch it up, whatever you're most comfortable with.
Yes. So we're kind of at this point. So I'm just gonna, whoops, why did it go backwards? Bad. I'm just going to flip to this slide quickly because we're just at questions anyways. And I was really impressed that I was able to make this graphic. So I have to show it every single time we do these presentations.
Very impressive.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to stop sharing and we'll just switch to questions. But okay, now I can see everyone's faces. This is nice. To add to that, for me, I changed my song local, state, and national, but it was because, so first at my local, I picked that song because it was the only song that I had a track for and I knew how to sing because I had just injured my knee. So I knew I wanted to change it for state. I got to state, I picked a song, someone else had already picked it. I kind of got flustered, had to pick a new song. It was a whole thing. I went through like 3 songs for state. And I found a song and I did it and I sang it on that stage. And after I was done singing it at Miss Minnesota, I never wanted to sing that song again. I had sang it so many times. I was ready to chuck my phone to the ground if that song came on. And I did take into consideration other people's opinions. Like I mentioned, I was training with a classical singer and I was singing musical theater. So I wanted to talk to some musical theater people and they said, it's a good song. We can find you better. And I said, cool. And we found me a different song. So it's not necessary. I've seen individuals. One person that comes to mind, her name is Rihanna Johnson. She was Miss Wisconsin 2 times because she was first runner up to Laura Kepler before she became Miss America. And then she was Miss Wisconsin when she earned it on her own merit. She did the same talent every single time, state, local, national, and she was Miss Wisconsin twice. So I don't think there's any harm in changing your talent. You stick to what you know, you do what's authentic to you. She felt comfortable and confident, and boom, there you go. So you can always speak to local directors and get their input on things, but at the end of the day, it is up, to what you feel most comfortable with. There was something else I did want to address in here, and that was wearing tights under your costume. I'm about to get on a soapbox, and I'm so sorry because I know Jody's going to come in here too, but I agree with you, Jody.
That was me. I'm sorry.
Yes,
that was me.
No,
sorry.
I agree. And it is old. It's considered old fashioned. So like I said, grew up competitive dancing. By the time I was a senior in high school, it was not cool to wear tights. It was not. I understand it. I also was in it. I hated tights. I hated them a lot. I think I burned some, might have killed a tree. I apologize. Anyways, when it got time to compete for the Miss America system, one, a lot of times your judges are not dancers and they don't understand why your bare legs are showing. 2, it gives people a piece of ease, especially if they're not dancers in the audience, to know that you have tights on when you're wearing shorts or anything like that. Now, can I say that? I'm going to say it. Recently, I had a friend who was competing in a local in a different state, and she was wondering why she didn't win, essentially. She reached out to the local director, got feedback, and the local director said to her, the only criticism they had for this individual was that she didn't wear tights in her talent dance, and they were afraid something was going to fall out. And she said to me, if that is the one thing that keeps me from winning or doing well in this organization, I'm willing to suck it up and wear tights as a dancer, even if it's seen as old fashioned. But you don't want that to be the one thing. It's never going to hurt to wear tights. So, okay, soapbox over.
And it's annoying, and dance competitions don't, like, you'd never see anyone in a dance competition wearing it, but just buck up and do it.
Yes.
It's so weird how it will just feel so much more at ease when it's just like a thing, whatever. But yeah, I'm on the
maybe
same
it'll
rant with
change.
Ellie.
Yeah, and maybe it'll change someday. But I've heard it too many times, and from people who watch or people who have judged in the past. And when I heard that, I'm not kidding you guys, this was in the last month that this happened to a friend of mine in another state. I was so upset that I was like, I'm never letting this happen to anyone ever again. Because she happened to have an older judging panel, and they just weren't comfortable with her wearing the leotard and skirt she was wearing without tights. And that stinks. But it's when it was this close between her and another person, that little bit of score could have really changed it all. So, okay, other questions at this point in time?
I think, the one thing that I want to say about that is, from a judging, like when I judged, so many, a lot of people, it's great talent, but when the person is dancing right in front of you at eye level and you are looking at them, and it's like, and they do this thing, and all of a sudden you're going, oh, I don't want to see anything, because, and that's what you think about is, oh God, I hope nothing comes out. And it's true. And it's like, oh,
I know.
And it's like, could they do that? Could they have done that move differently so I didn't get a crotch shot? You know what I mean? Could they have done it a different way, like done the leg thing towards the back of the, as opposed to the front? And it is what it is.
No, that's important. I'm actually really glad you brought that up too, in the sense of choreography, and where the judges are sitting. So at Miss America, if you saw my dress, I had it up in one of the things, and you may have seen it in pictures. The one side was like up to my hip completely. And then it had this side train, and I had the judges to my right, but I wasn't sure where they were going to be when going to Miss America. They didn't tell us until we got there, until we walked on the stage and we said, oh, there's the table. But we had originally, I had planned, okay, if the judges are on my right, I need to walk this way because I don't want them to get nervous about potentially seeing something. I was completely covered, but I just knew that that could potentially go through their mind. Like, oh, that's a high slit. She's walking away. What's going to happen? I made sure I didn't choreograph any bending down in my, movement for singing. Same goes for speech. Same goes with comedy acts. Same goes for anything on the stage. If you have to be mindful of the view that the judges are going to have. And I understand it's easier to switch as a singer where I go and not as much as a dancer and things like that. But you can kind of make those same assumptions. Like if you're doing a développé to the front, is it something you can do on the ground to the back where you're still showing your flexibility, but you're not making anyone uncomfortable too? It is a lot more modest when it comes to these types of competitions versus the dance world. And that's just how it is. So I know we're talking a lot about dance and singing. Is there any questions relating to other types of talents or any talent, but
yeah,
I just
questions too.
Yeah.
You can put them in the chat too.
Mm-hmm. Want to ask. Or you can private message us too if you don't want to put them like publicly.
Or we can keep talking.
Yeah. We're almost coming up on an hour though. So I feel like, we have done a good job in making sure that we covered a lot of different things. And if there's anything, I am going to put in there the BMI music. Oh, not ASPCA, that's the animal one. Those are the two that you can look into in terms of rights. Again, teens, probably not as much because we're not going to be broadcasting these things, but Miss Finals Night will likely be, it is going to be broadcasted again, live streamed again. But it's just good to kind of have that awareness that you could potentially have to change your music if you can't get a certain song.
And that's too, I know when you're sending in your music, I think if you know what you're going to do and you send it in right away, then if you're the first one, right, then it's yours.
Yep.
So to be aware of that in case somebody else might be using the same song. We had that one year at state where a teen and a miss used the same song for a dance. That was a couple of years ago.
Interesting.
But, yeah. And you know what? And I don't think that, I don't believe that the executive directors necessarily knew because, I don't think they did, but all of a sudden it was like, hey, that's the same song. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, teen and miss are going to be held at separate times this year, but I mean, it could still be a thing. So another question that we got is for dance, is there an unwritten rule about a costume? Like, can it be a two-piece? Should it be connected? I guess I've always worn a one-piece on stage, but Bella.
Again, this one's super hard because, I'll say, for example, my solo costume at my dance studio is like a leotard with like this open back, blah, blah, blah. Totally maybe not acceptable. It's very, very, very hard with dance costumes. So at nationals, girls had everything from one pieces to a typical thing you see on stage. I would just say nothing with too much boobage. Like if you're wearing a two-piece, make sure it covers, your entire costume, please make sure it covers everything and everything well. So maybe if you're wearing a leotard, just get like a skirt maybe to put on the back of it. If it's a leotard cut thing. I have worn two pieces and one pieces. I actually prefer a two piece because that's just what I'm kind of used to. But then again, with my two pieces, it's always a high-waisted bottom with a longer top. So there's only like a little bit of stomach showing. But it also just depends on what you're comfortable with. But yes, nothing, I would just stay away from leotard cut stuff unless if there's a skirt covering the front or covering, especially the back of it, I should say. I don't think an open back is an issue on it. In the picture that we had shown before, like the back of mine was open, but the front of it was like a halter tops. I think that's fine. But again, it's just whatever you're comfortable with. I don't think there's an unspoken rule. Besides,
can I say my unspoken rule?
Yes, please.
So this goes for all fashion, ladies, not just costumes. If you're gonna have any of this showing, the rest needs to be covered. If you're gonna have a lot of legs showing, this needs to be covered. If you have one showing, you can't show it. You gotta balance. You get what I'm saying? So,
if you're a teen, I would stay away from showing either of them, honestly. Don't do it.
My motto, I actually just said this to a girl who had messaged me asking me a question about something completely unrelated to this, but I always err on the side of if I'm questioning it or if I have to ask if it's okay, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to play it safe. So that's my philosophy when it comes to that type of stuff. I mean, a good point. There is a difference between competing at the teen level and competing at the Miss level. And Miss, you might be able to show a little more and it'll be a little more acceptable. But a teen, you do have to remember you are competing for Miss Minnesota's Outstanding Teen. So I got another question privately. So again, feel free to send me a direct message on here if you feel more comfortable doing that. Do the tights rules apply to those who aren't dancing? So a talent that might be moving around a lot, if you have a short dress or something, don't feel like you have to wear tights with that, but make sure you're wearing something that covers you underneath. So I know, for instance, I have seen people who have done readings or who have done, who have sang or really just anything besides dancing, and they've worn like shorter skirts. I mean, by all means, you can certainly do that. But remember where the judges are going to be. The stage will be here. Their eye level is typically right here, right where your feet would be. So if you're doing anything that makes that skirt move, they can see up underneath it. Not that they want to. They probably don't want to. But if they see something, they really probably don't want to at all. Let's avoid that. But just know where their eye level is going to be and make sure. And even if it's not them, maybe there's just audience members there. You don't want them to see that either. So making sure that it doesn't necessarily have to be tights or nylons or anything like that. I'm just saying, make sure you're covered in some sort of way if you're going to be moving around a lot and you have something that could potentially show.
Yes.
All right. I'll give it like 10 more seconds for questions. Otherwise, we're sitting just over an hour. Oh, this is actually a really good question. For Miss Minnesota's Outstanding Teen, there was a track. Let me rephrase this. If you have a track to your talent, sometimes you can have people make that background track for you. Yes, you still need to get the rights for the song. And in the paperwork that you fill out, at least for Miss America, I can't remember how it was. I think we needed to do this for Miss Minnesota too. The person who put that track together will just sign a little thing saying, I made this soundtrack. The person who sent me that message, I know who made your track, I think. And you just send an email to the person who got the person to make the track for you, and they'll get you that letter. All righty. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, Bella and I are both available on Instagram. Jody's at recruiting@missminnesota.org. You might have our emails too from some of the emails that we've been sending. You can do that as well. And you can continue to ask questions. Or if you decide to watch this webinar back, you can always send us questions after the fact. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I was watching your Making Miss Minnesota webinar and I had a question on something that you mentioned on talent night, and we'd be happy to do that. But it's now 7:30, so we will let you guys go. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank
you. We appreciate
guys.
your questions. We appreciate your participation, and we'll see you next month.
Yes.
Woohoo. Okay. Bye, everyone.